Good day. Today we're going to have a live stream with a guest, and I want to talk about how to create the life that you want from the start. And I will share the exact methods that have helped me. So I'm going to join my guest. Let's see. Hello, hello. Can you hear me well?
Yes. Yes. How's my sound?
It's a little unclear, actually.
A little unclear. Is that better like this?
Yeah.
Okay.
How are you doing?
Good. Busy day. Busy day. What
Well,
about you?
I'm doing good. Could you introduce yourself and then we can introduce the topic we'll talk about today, and that way we have something we can go off on.
Yes. Yes. Sure. Evening, everyone. Evening or whatever time of the day it is where you are. My name is Amanjot, and I have been practicing Kundalini yoga over 17 years now. So it's getting on a bit. And the amazing thing about it is that it keeps giving. It really is keeps giving. And the more you work on yourself, the more treasures you're finding. And that just does not stop me to become amazed, because the deeper you go into the woods of that, the more treasures, and they just become so subtle now. And sometimes I think, oh my God, you know, yeah, I mean, I've had a story like it happened today. I mean, if you want me to share it, might as well share it, because like this one mentor has passed away, my mentor, and she's a very dear friend. And her funeral's on the 30th, and I was thinking I'd love to go, but I just can't see how I'm going, because like busy days and everything. And it happens to be that somebody else who was going to go can't find her passport. And she's like, why don't you take my tickets? You just have to change your name and off you go. I was like, my goodness, like universe is just like handing it over on a platter to me. I didn't even have to think of how to organize the travel or anything. And you're like, oh, really? So I can go. I can go.
Wow. I'm
You
very
know.
sorry to hear about your mentor.
But yeah, but she's in a good place. She's in a good place. I really feel her yeah, in the ethers, and you know, around me, and I think we're even closer now than we were when she was in the body. So that's a beautiful thing.
Hmm. Well, thank you so much for sharing and introducing yourself. I'll do a little introduction of myself. My name is Simran, and I've been practicing Kundalini Yoga for over 21 years. And Allah and I met, oh, should I call you Allah or Amanjot?
Amanjot is good. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Well, Amanjot and I met through our mutual teacher, Dasha Kabalova. And we've been working with her for some time now, learning how to heal through Sunamar sign, how to work with prosperity, how to work with much more subtle and intricate topics of the subconscious and how this impacts us on a daily basis. So this is how we met, through our mutual teacher, Dasha Kabalova. And we both trained under her. I've been training with Dasha for 7, 8 years now. And I've been learning from her precisely as she learned from the master on how to heal, how do we actually bring yoga and meditation into our life, which is what I really want to talk about today. Because it's always seems to me, and also my experience for many years, is that yoga and meditation and life is like a very separate part, you know. You meditate, you feel good, but it's not something you really apply into your life. And Our mutual teacher, Dasha Kabalova, teaches the very opposite of how do we take meditation and apply it to your life and create the results that you want. So today we'll be talking about that.
Yes, and I'm really, really excited. Thank you for inviting me in. And yeah, we always have such good lives with Harsimran. I mean, I think last one was very successful, and we didn't even get to do any like mini readings or anything like that. We just ran out of time. It was just like full. So I'm really looking forward to this one as well. And I learned from her, Simran, as well, because you've been with Dasha so much longer than I have. So there's always something to learn.
Well, I'm happy to hear that. Yes, I've been with her for some time. And today I really want to talk about the first and the exact steps I really took that changed my life in terms of prosperity, health, relationships. I mean, everything. How did I start and what exactly changed? Because I don't want to just say prosperity because that's very vague. So today I really want to share with everyone exactly what changed. Do you want to start?
I mean, I can. I have actually put a poll on my story, and it was so funny. People voted, and it came up 50-50. I've put four different options, like health and finances and relationship and things. And people only chose two categories, like finances and relationships. And it's
Mm,
so interesting because it's kind of stems from the same chakra, so to speak. I mean, I did give it a little bit in my reels that, it all, we all conditioned one way or another. We are conditioned. And
mhm,
the way we learn is when we unlearn the conditioning, which is a funny, like, saying, right? But we are so deeply ingrained with these beliefs about ourselves and who we are, which is so far from truth, is
mhm,
is just unbelievable. And I mean, having been in this kind of in Kundalini for so long and been working on myself so long, but only with Dasha did I start to realize that my self-worth wasn't even near to what it should be, to what the reality is. And yeah, I mean, I've skyrocketed with my finances, with my relationship, with my health. Like, all these areas start to level out and start to balance out and start to prosper and open up, and the flow of life, you can feel so much fuller, and
mhm.
you can enjoy your life. You can be busy, but you can also enjoy your life. You can choose
Absolutely.
you can choose what you focus on and not spend your time just wasting doing like things that are just wasteless.
Absolutely. Yes. Well, for me, just as you were sharing, when I've been practicing Kundalini Yoga for over 21 years, and until I met my teacher, Dasha Kabalova, I was completely lost. Even though I was practicing 1 to 3, 4, 5 hours a day, consistently every day. And I think this is one of the most important points that I learned through over 15 years practicing myself, or with like 20, 40, 50 different teachers, is that until you don't find the right teacher, nothing really shifts in your life. And you need a teacher, especially in Kundalini Yoga, because we have a feeling, or we think that we understand everything about Kundalini Yoga, or that I've read so much about it, so I know everything, or I practice so much, so I understand everything about myself. And it's kind of the same of like, I read up everything about psychology, so now I can self-diagnose myself and solve all my problems. But in reality, nothing is solved, nothing is changed. And so for me, it kind of began with my first consultation with my teacher, Dasha. So one of the specialties both Amanjot and I have that we trained with Dasha Kabalova is on being able to do consultations that are very different than anything you've ever heard or experienced, unless you've worked with us, which is through very deep, pure meditative state. When you as a client come to us, whether it's in text or over a call or even in person, in this pure state, we go into absolute state of silence and we feel precisely where your imbalance is in life. And you can bring any problem, any situation. And in the consultation, we see precisely what is causing this problem and also how to heal it, how to get out of it. And this is something that we also learned from our teacher. And this is the greatest and actually the most secret teachings of Kundalini Yoga. And it was not taught to the masses. Yogi Bhajan, the last master of Kundalini Yoga, did not teach it in any teacher training. He only taught it to one person, named him to be the greatest healer, the master of healing. And he was the one, the master Gurudev Singh, to share these teachings. And our teacher, Dasha Kabalova, learned from Gurudev for over 25 years. And he taught her how to actually be able, without knowing anything about a person, they can say, well, I want to make more money, or I've been really sick, chronically sick for years. And in a minute, we feel precisely why this is happening. What causes this problem in your life?
Yes, that's absolutely true. In fact, I've had a client quite recently, and she booked to come for the healing, and she had a financial problem because you can bring any issues to the session. You can bring health, you can bring like you have misunderstandings with your neighbor, whatever, you know. So she brought a issue that her brother was owing her quite a significant amount of money, like a several tens of thousands, and she wanted it to be solved, and the debt was like over 20 years. So as soon as she paid for the session, within 2 days the money were returned to her, and she came to the session and she says, Amanjot, actually I don't have a problem anymore. And I said to her, well, actually the healing's already started, because as soon as you pay, you bring your commitment to this exchange, to that you want this change to happen in your life, you know.
Mhm.
And another thing I wanted to also to support with what you were saying, Harsimran, it is very important to choose the right guide, because like you said, you know, you can think you know how to climb a mountain, you've read all the books and you've watched all the films about it, and you go on to climb a mountain and you get bloody stuck on it and you don't know how to get out. You know,
Yeah.
people come with the like Kundalini activations, God knows what. They come to me and they say, oh, Amanjot, what should I do? I'm like, well, you should go back to who's done this. It's like, no. But, you know, in reality, your teacher can see you so much better from what you can see yourself,
Mhm.
because we on the outside and we have walked the path and we have practiced so much more than say the patient has. So, you know, it's just so much clearer for somebody who's practicing every
Mhm.
single day and for so many years under the guidance of another great teacher, under the guidance of another master. You know, the lineage is really strong.
Absolutely. Yeah. For me, I think I have never really known what I wanted with my life. And if I thought about what it is I potentially wanted, it would make me very depressed because it felt impossible to get there. I felt there was just no path towards it. I didn't have the financial means. I didn't have the emotional maturity. I didn't have any support from anyone. And I always felt that I'm very alone. I can't do anything. And, you know, one of the easiest solution to many things is having money. And I felt that that itself, just the idea of I need to make more money, right? One of the, I always say these reels where it's just like, well, if you want to solve some problems, you just need to have more money. And people like mock it. They're like, oh, yeah, just some money. But in reality, it is true. Many things can be solved with money, with prosperity. And when I went to my teacher, I didn't even want to work with her because I didn't know anything about her. I didn't know how this was very different from anything. But when I went to her, she immediately, like the first thing she said to me early in the morning was, Harsimran, you're really depressed. You have no energy in your brain. This is why you're so stuck. And she's like, okay, do this practice every day. And she gave me a meditation practice, and every day I began to do it. And for the first time in my life, I started to have a lot of energy, and not just like artificial energy where I was just happy all the time, or I'm like, I have energy, I feel good, not that kind of energy, but the kind where I had a lot of ideas and I was starting to take action in my life. And I feel that this is something I never had. People would always say back in school, you're someone who has a lot of energy, but I was never able to do anything out of my comfort zone. I never really had energy when it came to important things, other than cleaning, hanging out with my friends. Sure, these are things I have abundant energy in. But when it came to taking actions that would help me get out of anxiety, that would help me have better sleep, that would stabilize my state, that would allow me to start setting boundaries with people I needed to, zero energy. So this is something I really wanted to clarify, because a lot of times I have people come to me, especially for a consultation, and they say, and I tell them, you have no energy. They think, well, that's not true. I hang out with my friends, I go out, I have abundant of energy. But they never have energy towards the main things in their life they needed to have towards, right? And it can come in many different forms, where it's like, I'm just lazy, or you're procrastinating constantly on taking that step, or asking for a raise, or finally looking for other jobs so you don't have to be at this dead end or miserable here. And we never have those energies. And so when my teacher pointed out that, you have no energy, at first I really didn't understand, because I had a lot of energy to hang out with people. And I thought, yeah, I have a lot of energy. I can watch movies all night, that's great. But then she was like, you need to walk with prosperity. And immediately I was like, no, don't even talk to me about this. Don't bring it up. I don't want to hear it. And she said, you will really find your path when you start to work with prosperity. You'll get out of your anxiety, of your depression, because you really need to find a purpose and to feel fulfilled within yourself through your own actions. And so I began to do the practices. And in 2 days with her, I earned 800 euros. She showed me what to do. And she said, go and do it. And for the first time, I was like, okay, fine, I'll go, I'll do it. I did it. I earned 800 euros doing 2 hours of work. And I was completely shocked, because even when I was working for companies for other people, I never earned that much. It was
Yes, that's
double of what I
incredible.
normally earned. Yeah.
That's incredible. And also to have that consciousness and awareness, and to actually allow yourself to accept this kind of money, if you had to wait the whole month and work really hard for it, and all of a sudden you're doing the right thing with the right amount of energy, and it's like snap, 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 and the money's there, and you're like, hell yeah,
Yeah.
I do deserve it. And yes, it's me, it's for me. And you take, that's another thing I've remembered, is that, yeah, I have really grown up with Dasha. in terms of taking personal responsibility, because I used to blame others, I used to blame my partner, I used to blame the country, I used to blame the president, I used to blame my genes, I used to blame my parents, da 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 da. Who doesn't, right? But when you, even whatever conditioning you've had, if you step out of that pattern of just doing the same thing and taking responsibility for yourself and saying, okay, well, no, actually, I am going to try this new thing. Okay, maybe it doesn't seem like too logical. Maybe it seems too easy. It doesn't matter what your mind is telling you, because your mind is all it wants to do for you to do as it says. So you need
Mhm.
to step out of your mind a little bit to do something new and to get into a new situation.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
yeah. Do you want to
And
share any of your cases, like what people?
yes, I think before that, I really want to emphasize on what it is that this consultation did with my teacher, with Dasha, because at that point, I didn't really understand what it is I wanted. And even when I did begin to work with her, I really felt that perhaps it's just luck. Somehow I got lucky. Like I got
She guessed.
lucky.
She guessed.
Yeah. I got lucky, and this is why I was able to create this opportunity. And I began to realize that through these practices, through a personal consultation, one of the most important things that you start to recognize is that all the thoughts that normally stay very dormant or very on a very subconscious level start to become more conscious. And you start to recognize just how much you doubt yourself, or how much you undervalue yourself, or how small you really feel. And when I got through the practices, I started to meditate every day. And it wasn't even very difficult, these meditations, but I had a lot of resistance. I didn't want to change. I constantly was doubting that anything would change. And for me, I started to really see that through the meditations, I create a lot of situations in my life where I'm unable to reach those goals or wishes. Because after I made the 800 euros, I started to undervalue it and think, it was just luck. Nothing's really changing. Everything is really slow. I'm so bad. Nobody's coming to me. I'm new. And so I started to, again, push myself down, 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 down. And then for the next few months, everything was really difficult, even though I was meditating every day. And so I went and I told my teacher, and she said, well, what are you communicating to yourself every day? And I told her, well, everything is hard. I can't do it. Maybe it was just luck. I was like crying, whining. And she's like, but you're creating these situations. And so she showed me that these personal consultations, they give you a chance to leave this cycle that's been repeating for years and years and years. But even when you begin to leave it, understand that on a subconscious level, we want to go back to the problem.
Yeah, because the mind is saying, how dare you thinking for yourself now? How dare you come out of this little golden prison I've built for you? How
Yeah.
dare you think you know better and trying new things? So yeah, your mind wants to put you back into that black hole. So
Yeah.
you're back into the slavery doing as your mind tells you, because mind tries to protect you, which is a normal thing, but in an overreactive capacity, it just puts you deeper, digs you in a deeper hole, and like
Yeah,
buries you in it.
absolutely. And it was actually through the personal consultations, I started to realize just how much I created these problems. Because before that, or more like also in between and after, I went to a prosperity class with my teacher, and it was all about how do we really take steps, change our life. And I started to feel it's really impossible. I can't do it. There's no way. I have to start a social media. I can't do that. I have to do stories with my face and talk. I can't do that. That's not me. And I started to realize that every step of the way, I always said, this is not for me. I can't do that. It's impossible. It will never work out. And we never recognize it because often, especially in yoga and meditation, we have a concept that of karma, because a lot of people are really interested in this topic. There's a lot of misinformation about karma out there. And my belief for many years is that perhaps the universe is not letting me be prosperous right now. Not me. No, no, no. It's the universe that doesn't want me to succeed. Or, the universe wants me to take it slowly. Or, I have to wait for a clear sign for something to happen.
Or work much harder, twice harder, 10 times harder.
Yeah. But even then, you shouldn't expect results.
Yeah.
That's something I had for sure. And then I remember when I did start to take steps and I started to create the changes in my life, I remember people around me, my parents especially, who didn't understand what I really wanted to do, why I wanted to work for myself, and they were terrified I would fail. So they were convinced I shouldn't do this. Like, don't even start because you will fail. And I started to tell them, well, this is what Dasha recommends, and this is what she told me to do. And constantly, like, you're going to fail, it's not going to work out, it's really difficult, you don't know anything about this, right? You don't know anything about business. True. I don't know how to self-market. I was very insecure, and I had a really hard time speaking to the camera, even for a few seconds. I was very shy. I couldn't do it for the life of me. And so I started to think, it's going to be really hard. I can't do it. It's not for me. The universe doesn't want me to succeed. And then I had that opportunity where things started to go for me exactly as I did the meditations and the tasks that Dasha set in the class for prosperity. As I did them, I began to get results. And it was moving. It wasn't like automatically overnight I got 50 clients, but I started to move. And in my first ever meditation club, my first time ever teaching Kundalini Yoga, I gathered 28 people for my meditation club. I had never ever advertised before that. I had never had a social media before that. I had no clients prior to that. But exactly doing the meditations and the tasks that Dasha said, things started to open up. And then I remember my parents saying, well, what did you do? How did you do this? How did you get this? And so I told them, and they said, no, it's impossible. I can't do it. It's impossible. You can't charge more money, because I told them, well, I charge more than normal people, other teachers. I did this and this and this and this, which is very different from like the standard of like you should do free classes. You should do trial classes completely free to get clients. But Dasha had a different way of doing it. And so I did it exactly as Dasha said, opposite of what my parents were recommending based on their 30 years of experience. And for them, I also felt that maybe perhaps they knew what they were doing because they had built multiple businesses, made millions of dollars. Maybe they know what they're talking about. I was completely new, so I felt, what can I do? What can I say? So I had a really difficult time deciding who do I want to listen to. But every time I was listening to my parents' experience, their problems, and all of their negative experiences building their business, I couldn't build mine at all. I was just constantly bombarded with anxiety and doubt and insecurity and worried that I would have the same stressful situations as them. And with Dasha, she was very clear and very stable, perhaps in a more correct word. And she would just say very clearly, do these steps. If you do these steps, you will have results. It's impossible not to. And on top of that, she would select the exact meditations that were needed by me at the time to stabilize my nervous system, to help me release my fears, to stabilize my brain, open up the energy so that it became very easy for me to have energy towards the most important things in my life, not just cleaning and cooking, being a good daughter, but the most important things that would allow me to change the course of my life. And I started to get clients. And I remember that my parents were convinced it's not going to work out for them or for anyone else, that I got lucky. So that same thing of like, you got lucky, you know, maybe you're just in luck and now it's just a good time. The universe is there opening for you. And so for many years, they were always doubting that I would succeed or I would be able to continuously make money working for myself. And I kept making it to the point that I grew so much that they started to come to me and they said, well, give me some advice as well. And so I said, why don't you go for a prosperity class? And I signed them up for some summer science sessions with my teacher. And in 6 months, they went from earning 20,000 euros a month to 300,000 euros a month in their business. And they had never done that prior to that point. For 20 years, they had the same business, the same profits every month. Nothing changed until that moment with the meditations and the tasks that Dasha had set in the class. And I recognized in that moment that why don't we grow? Why don't we get stuck? And it's exactly as you said in the beginning of the live stream, is that we have patterns and we have beliefs of ourself, of our life, of what is possible and what is not possible. And for us, we feel it is impossible that there can be any other reality from that. We're terrified to even consider it. Or even if we begin to consider it, we feel it will not actually work out for the long term. Maybe once in a while I'll get lucky. I'll find $50 on the ground and, you know, that's prosperity. But for me, it was the greatest change that came from one consultation because I began the most important steps of just every day building a discipline that would accurately work on my anxieties, my fears, my traumas, and allowed me to become very stable and established, even though I didn't recognize it at the time. I just thought, you know, I'm meditating, it's really nice. She selected a meditation for me, and I knew nothing about it. I just followed it more out of intuition and also a desire, a very small, tiny desire of like, I want some hope that something in my life can change. And I never imagined it would grow to a point where I would be able to earn every month an amount that I could sustain my life on and create the life exactly as I wanted, to be able to move to Spain by myself without any help. I just thought it's impossible. How can I do that? But the first thing the personal consultation does, that both Amanjot and I do, is it begins to heal the subconscious ban on prosperity, on change. And we have to recognize that we always have a limitation or even a image of ourselves that we don't want to let go, because either we are in love with it or we are terrified that nothing will really change or that it won't do any good to let go of this image.
Yeah, it's a scary actually act, and we appreciate how scary it is because we have done it, and we keep doing it. We keep pushing ourselves outside of the comfort zone with the help of our teacher. But when you first do it, it's like it's like taking all of your clothes on off and becoming naked, and you're like, but I need these clothes, they're keeping me warm, or they making me look better, or they making me look important. You know, it's just all these stories we've told about these clothes. But actually, when we do take them off, we realize we're okay without the stories. It's just we never ventured out, and actually venturing out is actually venturing in. So we're going in to find out who we really are on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, we through the personal consultations, we do this. We guide you to go back in and to get to know yourself. And sometimes it's very scary, and for some people if they never done it, they go inside and they're like, oh my God, this is full of not very pleasant things, right?
Now it's me.
Yeah. Yeah. And you think, oh my God, I remember after like being 15 years in Kundalini yoga, I go back in and I'm like, oh my God, there's so much pain here. I don't want to look at this pain because I've kept it there for a reason. I didn't want to look at it, but when you start to look at it and you start allowing it to unravel and allowing it to leave you, then you have more space for other things which are much more pleasant. So it's having this a grown-up approach of taking responsibility for your life and saying, okay, I'm going to try this new, I'm going to trust this teacher, and I'm going to do as she says and see what happens. I have a client who also done a Kundalini yoga for a long, long time, and he learned Satnam Rasayan with other teachers. And he was doing so many meditations. When I asked him how many practices he was doing, and I said, well, what does it add up in a day? And he said, well, all the practices together, they probably will add up to 2.5 hours a day. I'm like, my goodness, you almost like a monk. You do so much. But where is the result? Where is the result? I said, isn't it better to go with somebody who can give you, who can almost, what's the word? Risk-free results. You'll get risk-free results, but just doing one meditation, which is 11 minutes long, because it's the right meditation for you. It's the right practice for you because it's been selected from the deep space of complete silence and complete knowing, rather than you just picking any old meditation that you found in a book. It's a
Yeah.
massive difference. And this person, he's done 40 days of this practice. I've recommended him. He had elbow pain, shoulder pain, all of it. And he actually hated the practice I gave him, which it wasn't very, very difficult, but he hated it. Because we do the diary as well. You have like a 40-day diary with us, you write every single day what happens. And like a lot, he would write, nothing happened, I don't like it, da 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 da. And then in the resume he says, my shoulder pain went and my elbow pain went, and yet he did nothing, no movement for the arms or elbow or a shoulder. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It makes sense because we're working on the areas that connected, and they how can I explain this? So your block can be in a very different area than say your elbow, but it will hurt in your elbow because that's how your body communicating to you. And we when we go into the deep meditative state, we get to feel these things because we act as this reflection, as a mirror to what is happening to the patient. And as we let that tension or block dissolve or disappear or let go or just let it be, that tension goes. And if it goes in our body, it goes in the body of the patient or a client, and it's magnificent. It's, we're not putting our energy into anybody. We're not sucking your energy into ours. People
Yeah.
asking me, oh, are you going to be exhausted at the end of it? I'm like, well, I'm going to be tired because I've done a lot of talking with you, but but I am not energetically drained because I have not given you anything. I've not taken anything from you. It's very hygienic, shall I say? It's quite spiritually hygienic. Yeah, I quite like it. I mean, and the beauty of it is that when you're in that space, it's so wonderful. You just want to stay there. It's just, it's like you're at home, you're totally relaxed, and it's like it's hard to explain, but it's so good. I don't want to come out personally. Like, let's just stay here forever.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting because in a personal consultation, as I said earlier, we can come with any topic. And just the example of I was sharing about mine and my parents' story about prosperities, we didn't do prosperity meditation. We did a practice that worked on the point that blocks prosperity. So for me, it's always a lot of fear, of problems, that I'll get a lot of problems because I grew up watching my parents build their business, all of their problems I knew about. And I was so young at the time when they started to have all these different issues with prosperity, even as they grew, even when they made a lot of money. And at that time, because as a child, our psyche is still learning to balance and is still learning to form itself, we have no capacity on to understand or the ability to deal with any stress. And so for me, every time I would face as a child, as I grew up, any stress would be too much for me. I would never be able to handle any form of anxiety. I just wanted to feel good. I wanted to feel safe. And I rarely did, because even the smallest thing of if someone was being rude to me, even though it wasn't something I did, they were just being an asshole, I would feel maybe I did something wrong. I did something wrong. And I would start to blame myself. And then for days and for weeks, I would think about, why did they say it like that? What did I do? Should I have not said that? Maybe I shouldn't have walked close to them. And for me, this was a really big block in prosperity, because when I started, I never wanted to start a social media. And one of the reasons is that, well, then people may criticize me, or I may upset somebody, or they might not agree with what I say. And then I will be open to ridicule, to anger, to maybe even lawsuits. Oh my goodness. And so better I don't start anything. And better nobody looks at me, so nobody can make fun of me, make me feel small. I don't have to feel afraid. But in reality, even though my brain is trying to protect me, it's trying to protect me because on a subconscious level, I was still a child. In that point where my parents had all these different business issues, relationship issues, nothing was working out. They weren't able to handle it. They did not shield me from those things. And I began to take on very adult problems as a 6-year-old.
Mm.
And I never learned how to create boundaries, how to feel safe, how to feel that I could handle these things, because they did not learn how to do those either. They didn't know how to do that. And so I learned that, I grew up with that, and then it reflected in my prosperity. And this is something that then my teacher, before I met my teacher, Dasha Kabalova, no one understood this about me, not even myself. And in my first consultation, she knew precisely why I was always in a state of anxiety. And when she said, well, if you do these practices every day, you will feel much better and you will start to get out of this pattern. And I thought, oh, even when I started, I was constantly in doubt. I was like, oh, nothing's really changing. But now when I look back at it, I recognize that every time we meditate with the right teacher, especially in a personal consultation, everything you normally try to hide from yourself becomes very apparent. And this is exactly what we need to work with. We don't want to work with it. We don't want to look at it. But at the same time, in a personal consultation, your awareness starts to grow and you become much more self-aware of you, yourself, your problems. But at the same time, not only will you become more aware, but your nervous system, your psyche also becomes stronger to be able to deal with those things that you normally would hide from. And the process of a personal consultation, even in just one consultation, we select a meditation you do for 40 days. It's like 10 years of therapy. It's so powerful. It's so deep. And it begins to reveal within you why you don't make money, why you're always stuck at this job that you hate, why you can't do what you love, why can't you set boundaries. And not only do you become aware of it, but with the practices, you start to recognize, how can I change that? What can I do? Even if it won't resolve it fully, but what steps do I need to take that there's a actual change, and not just for 5 minutes I felt good because I meditated, but in reality, the change that comes that changes your entire life. For me, when my teacher told me to work with my brain, to heal my brain, to have more energy, that then my hormones, my state would stabilize, it felt like, oh, that sounds really cool. The brain is really cool. That sounds like a fun topic. But in reality, it led me to start my social media account, to ask for a raise at a job that I was being underpaid at, overworked at. I set boundaries about, this is the time I come, this is the time I leave. And 6 years before that, I had never been able to do that.
Yeah. And now how many subscribers you have? You've got thousands, haven't you? Like,
Yes.
look what that did to you. You know, if you couldn't even speak to the camera, you know. Yeah, I mean, it's incredible change. And people think, uh, I wanted to say about people who have difficulties with relationships or building relationships or sustaining relationships. People think, okay, if this partner doesn't suit me, I'm gonna get a next one, I'm gonna get another partner, but actually they end up in the very same situation, because very often it's not the partner you need to change, it's here that you need to change. And you know, how do you change your brain wiring? I mean, we don't have an operation to go to. You can't nip to the beautician and like, oh, just like rewire my brain. Can't do that. But you can do that by doing these practices that, you know, we give as a personal consultation practices, that these were specifically given to us by the master for these times
Mhm.
that are significant, everything changing so quickly. You know, the films that we watched 20 years ago are too slow, because we are able to assimilate so much more, and so we are able to change our brain wiring, but we need specific practices to do that, and specific guidance and specific instructions. It's not just like you make it up and off you go. No, it's very specific.
Absolutely. Also on the topic of relationships, because I've been with my partner for 8 years, and I think it's a really interesting point because I was the neurotic one in the relationship, like completely batshit crazy. I really
Me
was.
too.
And to me, I always, I always thought before I met him, like, I need the perfect man and he needs to be like this, like this, like this, and then I'll be happy, right? And I had a main point that would constantly sabotage this relationship and every relationship, not just like with men, but even with my friends, even with my family, which is I always felt very alone and abandoned. And I had a lot of grief about that. And I was never able to process that from an early age because of situations that had taken place in my family, and it always showed up in my relationships. So I found the perfect man who now I've been with for 8 years. And I mean, for me, he matches and is everything I want in a partner. And for 4 years, I was on the path, a war path to self sabotage everything possible all the time. And I began to recognize that we create those problems. I mean, here I had found the most perfect man and I still couldn't make it work. I couldn't make it work for the life of me. And it was not, for me, relationship was a very painful topic. It wasn't like overnight, I changed everything. Um, Even after I recognized that, yes, I'm the one that's creating a lot of the situations, these problems, it took constant practice with personal consultations to actually change that scenario. And now we don't have those conflicts, those problems. And every time we do a task with our teacher, Dasha Kabalova, like, think about this situation. And we recently did a class and she showed us our main block is that we can't forgive ourselves. And I recognize that I felt so bad for what a horrible neurotic person I used to be, with my relationship with my partner, who is an absolute angel. And I was like, oh my God, I really could not forgive myself for that. But at the same time, for me, with personal consultations, there are two great benefits for anyone who's interested, because right now both Amanjot and I have a special promotion for the New Year's, Christmas, holidays, on our personal consultation. Is for me, the two amazing things that come out of a personal consultation is, one, there's always some form of short-term change, like really quick, instant changes. You start to have more energy, you start to sleep better, you start to stabilize your state, you're not up and down constantly. And you just, on a general basis, start to feel much better and lighter and stronger. And of course, there are more examples of that depending on which clients we've had. But that's kind of the base, where on a short term, there's always those changes. But then on the long term, you get out of those patterns that self-sabotage your life in any way, prosperity, relationships, health, especially health and taking care of ourselves. Because that's something I recognize in myself. I have never wanted to take care of myself. I've just wanted things to just be easy, and I should be strong, happy, beautiful, prosperous without any work. So I was always, one of my main issues with personal consultations, I don't want to meditate every day. I just want to meditate when I feel good or when I'm in the mood. And so with the personal consultation, I actually started to build different kind of commitment and discipline. And just for anyone who's interested, especially if you're new to, you've never had a personal consultation, often the meditations aren't going to be like 3-4 hours. It's going to be from 11 to 40 minutes a day, depending on you and your situation. Unless you're extremely advanced and you're working to heal hundreds of people, then you have a much bigger, many more practices and classes and trainings. But if in general you just want to start to change things easily, quickly, it's from 11 to 40 minutes a day. And with those meditations, they begin to change first on a very physical level. They begin to heal the body. You have more energy. Your brain becomes healthier. Your digestive your gut health improves. Everything on a very physical level begins to change. So this is why a lot of people become much healthier practicing Kundalini Yoga. On a very physical level, a lot of health issues start to go away. And on a subconscious level, with a personal consultation, it heals that trigger that makes you sick all the time. I had a client who came to me who was always falling sick. Like every month she has some kind of illness and would stay sick for weeks, not being able to really recover, had really low energy. And after she began practicing with me, it became once every 6 months, because that subconscious trigger that always would make her sick started to heal. So with prosperity, with health, with relationships, also just to make one point, it took me many years to work through relationship loss, because this was, I think, one of the main pain in my life. So this is why it took me many, many years, but I've had clients within 1 month, their relationship with their partner changes. Many clients, actually.
Yeah.
Not just one, but a lot of it. So if there's a main point in your life, that may take some time. But again, we never get to a point of being fully healed if we don't start from somewhere.
Exactly. And I just wanted to add actually about the healing. If healing is not your main issue, then you might have a really nice side effect of healing something that you didn't even think about. You know, I had a client who, she was pregnant, and she was just struggling, and I just given her a very short practice to do, and she came off antidepressants. I didn't even know she was on antidepressants. She never told me.
Mm-hmm.
And now she's been off antidepressants for, I think, like 7 or 8 months. And she says, I can't believe this, because I remember myself being on antidepressants like almost all my life, more or less, all my adult life. So, and she's actually doing teacher training with me. Anyway, but you might get this really nice side effect of doing these practices, and you're going to save yourself so much money. And I mean, I don't ever go to the GP. Honestly, they don't know who I am. So you're going to save yourself money, time, energy, wasting your time ringing, trying to get an appointment, whatever. So it's incredible. It's incredible. I think there was somebody else with oh yeah, another client. So she was getting a healing from me, and I think we arranged it for like 9 o'clock in the evening so she could go to bed afterwards. And she fell asleep on me. So when I phoned her, she wasn't already picking up. So I thought, okay, she probably fell asleep or whatever. I'll do the healing anyway because it will still work. So in the morning, she sends me this voice message saying, Amanjot, what have you done? She said, I have never slept more than 5 hours. She slept 8 hours that night. She fell asleep earlier. She slept so much longer. And then she said, and my knee doesn't hurt. I didn't even know that she had a difficulties or issues with knee. She came for a different issue with to heal, and she says my knee is great because she had this bad knee and she couldn't walk, whatever. I was like, wow, there you are, you know. And
Yeah.
please look after yourself. Please look after yourself. So these practices are absolutely incredible. And yes, like Har Simran said, we have offers at the moment. My offer running out at the end of December. So there's only just 4 more days.
Mm,
And it's 25% off, which is a big, you know, like a massive discount.
absolutely. Yeah. As you were sharing about how people come with one topic, another thing is healed. I had a client who came to me. I think this is definitely my biggest case, biggest win and healing. I had a client who came to me for prosperity. And in 1 month, I told her, okay, we need to do this, 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 and this. And we did the exact program I recommended her. And she got her dream job after 2 years of not being able to find a job, being let off during COVID. In 2 weeks, she found her dream job, and she went and negotiated herself a higher salary. She said she had never
Ooh,
done that. But
amazing.
there was something else that happened in those months that I didn't know about, which is she had epileptic seizures for years and was on very heavy medication for many, many years, had regular checkup with her doctors. And since she began working with me, it's been completely healed. And she was able to go to her doctors. They said, yeah, there are no more issues. They slowly put her off the medication. Now she needs no medication and is completely healed of seizures.
Incredible.
And for me, I want to emphasize that here, what we do, it's not science. I know it's like, well, where's the scientific logic behind that? So I want to talk a little bit about the lineage of this because it comes from Suddamer sign. This is a healing modality that we have that is from the same lineage of Kundalini Yoga. But in Suddamer sign, we focus on healing, so healing sessions. All you need to do in the healing as a patient, as a client, is lay down and say, well, this is my problem. I want this healed. You lay down, the healer sits, and they can touch your arm if you're physically. They will just tap you like this. That's it. Or it can be from distance. Some healers, I'm one of them who knows how to heal from distance. And in this space, what we do is we go into a pure meditative state. And it's complete silence. We're not exchanging energy. We're not doing any mantras. We do essentially, and it sounds really weird, but we do nothing. And in that nothingness, a lot of the problems you had begins to dissolve on a very deep subconscious level. It relaxes and heals the entire body. It is called Sat Nam Rasayan. Sat Nam Rasayan. And this is a healing modality that is it's not exactly Kundalini yoga, but it is taught, the master used to teach his classes through Summer Sign. And this is how we do consultations as well, because consultations are normally taught at level 2 Summer Sign healing training, healer training. But we went through different trainings to actually be able to learn how can I talk to somebody, look at somebody, or just know their full name, date of birth, which city they live in, go into such a deep state of meditative silence that I'm able to recognize where all of your pain, your blocks, your traumas are, and how to heal it. And this is something that we work with, and this is why the most important thing is there's no limit to what topic you can come with. And one of the specialties is that we can work with very sick patients. So if you're very, very sick, of course, we have different healers who have that, who've trained and really worked so that they can be able to heal many of these issues. But it is something that we can do, and we don't just work with health, with relationships. For me, when I worked with this client whose epilepsy was completely healed, I recognized that I needed to stop undervaluing myself, because I kept thinking prosperity is really hard, relationships is really hard, working on myself is really hard. And imagine having an illness, a problem that chronically is very dangerous for you. And that was completely healed. And so for me, actually, a lot of my clients give me a lot of gratitude, and also a different view of what we can really work with. And this is why I'm always constantly practicing with my teacher, because I would like to be able to get to a point where I can really work with some of the most sick patients, which she has a special group my teacher leads. And I recently, just this year around my birthday, I was able to join it. So I was really happy. I was like, wow, to get to a point where you can work with patients who are very sick, who have cancer, who have some kind of failure, kidney failure, liver failure. I had a client who also came to me whose grandmother had a heart attack, and we had a class scheduled at time. And so I texted her, "Where are you?" And she immediately replies, "I'm so sorry. My grandmother had just had a heart attack. We're in the ambulance going to the hospital." And so at that moment, I said, okay, we need to text my teacher and get her healers right away to heal her. And the next day, and if anyone's interested, the review, I posted what she wrote on my review. She wrote the next day, "My grandmother is completely healed. Like, no issue. She woke up the next day, had so much energy, as if she was like 20, 30 years old again. And she lived for another 2, 3 years with no complications, and she died peacefully in old age." And I was really, really shocked, how this had helped. And it's very interesting. Of course, there's a lot to it. It will take another 3 hours to get through on what it is we do. But I did want to just share the gist of what it is we can do. And for me, I think one of the best things that came out of personal consultations is just to recognize I want to give myself a chance to make my wishes come true. And I always felt it was very complicated, it's very difficult. And my teacher just always gave me the simplest things to change my life, personal consultation. So she will select meditations for me to do on a daily basis. And rarely, especially in the beginning, before I decided to become a teacher with her, were they difficult. And it was so easy. And I remember even then I used to complain, oh, it's so hard. I have to do this for 11 minutes. I don't want to do it. I have to breathe long and deep in this posture. And I would complain all the time. And I recognized that I, on a very subconscious level, was never going to give myself any chance of prosperity, of happiness, of change. And it's a very ugly realization. It's horrifying to realize that. It's like, I don't give myself a change. No, it has to be someone else. My parents, the economy, my job. It's not me. But I remember when I began to pay for my teacher's classes, consultations, I was very young at the time, 19, and it was just like all the money I earned at that moment, it would go straight into personal consultations. And my parents were like, that's crazy. You should be saving this money. You have no money. And I just recognized that I never gave myself any chance for prosperity and happiness. And I also could never have imagined just exactly how much would change in my life, in myself. I mean, 99% of the changes that have happened in my life in the last 7 years since I started working with my teacher were created by me. I never thought that was possible. I never thought I would start my own business. I never even had that desire. And I never thought I would succeed in it. That was one thing as well. But even when you have all these negative thoughts, you have all these situations in your life, and I understand, as I went through it, as Amanjot went through it, we all have situations in our life that are very difficult. But these practices, this personal consultation, it gives you a chance to change that, to be able to heal it, to be able to grow, to be able to prosper in times when you shouldn't be. My first clients, my first start into teaching yoga was during COVID. And I began to get clients quickly, immediately, even though many people had lost their jobs. And my parents were like telling me all the horror stories. This situation, everyone's sick, nobody has money, people are broke, they're out of their jobs. And for me, this was my reality as well. It's just, I don't have anything. Where do I start? But because of this, because of those first personal consultations, and my teacher had me work with prosperity, a topic I never wanted to work with, I was able to move to Spain by myself. I was able to go to the last, I think, 20 classes with Gurudev Singh, the master of Sun Sign, before he passed away. I was able to pay for consultations with my teacher, grow my business, buy myself those dresses I always dreamt about. I mean, just things sometimes such on simple levels, and at the same time that feels so far-fetched. And it all just began with the simple step of, I want to, work with this topic. But then many things begin to unfold in your life.
Absolutely. I am so with you on this. And I just wanted to add, about the prosperity and like financial situations, if people have issues in that, or people have issues with relationships, because it's sitting in the same kind of area in your body where your shame sits. I want to address this niggly bit of denial. A lot of people might think, oh no, actually everything's fine in my life. No, 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 my relationship's actually is fine. And it could be far from true. And even the financial situation, whatever you are telling yourself, this could be very far from truth, because perhaps you have that self belief that if you admit that your relationship is not as good as you want it to be, if your financial situation is not as good as you want it to be, because you feel ashamed. Because I used to feel ashamed of just admitting to the fact that I actually deserve a better partner. I deserve to live, that I can go and buy whatever I want to go and buy, and just allowing myself. I used to have this thought in my head that if I'd spend just £20 on whatever, £20 is not a lot of money. £20, it's like about $25 or €30, whatever. I used to think, as a grown-up woman who had a child, I used to think that if I'd go spend this £20 on something stupid or silly, then I'm failure. I am failure. That was such a massive belief in my head. And I used to think, I was then married as well, and I used to think, oh my God, my husband's gonna like kick me out of the house if I spend £20, just £20 on something silly. So I could not, as a grown-up woman, allow myself just go and waste, so to speak, £20. Let alone, I couldn't even imagine paying thousands for a training with my teacher. Like,
Yeah.
people would be like, no, you're crazy. I don't care what people think about me anymore. My nervous system can hold this because I don't do things for other people. I don't live for other people in terms of like, I don't live their image of me. I live what I want myself to be. If I think that Apple AirBook is good for me, I have made a projection and I've bought myself an Apple AirBook last Christmas. And I was 48. Like, you don't have to wait that long, all right? If you're not 48 yet, or maybe if you're older, you can project for things and you can manifest these things into your life just by opening up the window of awareness. And and Harsimran and we can help you get there because we've done this ourselves. We working with one of the greatest teachers and healers in the world under her guidance, and these tools work and they are absolutely freaking incredible. So
Yeah.
you have to be silly to sit in your own shame and not let yourself move, because you only have one life. Don't waste it. Don't wait for another one. We never know when this life gonna end. Could be tomorrow. You could be all well and good, but it could end tomorrow because we just don't know, which is a gift. Thank God. It's a blessing. We don't know. Yeah. But on the other hand, just don't waste your time and don't wait for somebody to come and kick your butt, like
Mm.
something bad happening in your life. You can just take an opportunity and you can take responsibility and say, okay, actually, I want to do it.
Yeah. I think for me as well, it's that shame point really connected because I felt like, if I start to recognize, how neurotic I am, and of course, at some level, you recognize you are kind of crazy, to be always anxious, always stressed out, nothing pleases you. I felt that if I start to recognize this, which I really did not want to, I thought, well, then who's going to love me, right? Who's going to be around me if I recognize this? And I found that the more I saw myself, the more I recognized myself, I accepted myself, faults and not, the happier I became, especially in my relationships. I used to never tell my partner if I was stressed, I was anxious, but he would always be able to tell. And I used to get so angry. I'm like, oh my God, stop telling me that I'm not anxious. Don't tell me anything. I'm not. Because I always felt it's a reflection of how bad I am. If I'm anxious, I'm stressed, I'm unable to accomplish something. Of course, this is just our trauma, our own trigger, our own fears that show up in that manner. But now I openly go and say, I'm really terrified. And I tell him like my thought process, and then I tell him and I feel relief. Like, oh yeah, I recognize how stupid that is. But the point isn't that I'm telling him or I'm recognizing how stupid it is. Because we can talk all day, we can communicate all day, we can write in a journal, we can go to a therapist, but still on a very emotional level, we are reacting all the time to our fears. And we can't get out of that. That is really true. We can't get out of our emotional reactions and then the thoughts those they produce. It was only through the personal consultations that I began to stabilize and I wasn't having these emotional up and down. And then whenever I would talk about it, it just felt like it was nothing, you know? I could laugh at it because on a very deep subconscious, on a very more emotional level, I had become more healthy, balanced, and those things that I was always craving or I felt I wasn't good enough, those were healed. And that's only possible through a personal consultation.
Yep. Because you are just there.
Yeah.
And well, look at you.
And for me, it was really viable because now I look back at my relationship and I realize the entire time I had such a great partner, always ready to help, always ready to be by my side, and I still couldn't accept it. So often, you know, we have this image, and my parents would always say this, which is, you know, when we have enough money, when this situation is resolved, then I will sign up for a consultation. Then I can do something. And I remember I used to say that, I used to do that. And I almost missed out on being able to attend all the last classes of the Master Son Messiah before he passed away. Because it was just like, I didn't have money. So what can I do? I have no money. Well, you can take some steps to change that. No, it's impossible. I can't do that. I can't sell things online. You know, I can't start a small business, even if it's just like something my family did in India during COVID is there was a shortage of masks. And so my parents started to donate money to the local seamstress to build masks. And they would pay for the cloth and then they would sell it. They would give it for free. And of course, they started to do a little small business with it, and not for themselves, but for the women there so that they could feed their families. And then I recognized firstly, they never thought I'll do it myself, even though it was very cheap, 20 rupees. And they were like, no, I can't do that. And I realized that we're always waiting for the right moment, myself included, right? We always want the right moment when things are good, when things are more stabilized. But then when I recognize, and I think this is really important, especially for the New Year's, before we end the live stream, is to set a goal, a wish, a desire, any one of three, and then work towards it. And it should be a financial goal. That's really important. Not just like I want to win the lottery, not that, but I want to be able to buy myself a coat. I want to be able to travel. I want to be able to go for this class or training. Because that's exactly what drove me to get out of the situation, because I wanted to work with the Master Son sign. So for a few months, I started putting a projection. He would teach online because I couldn't travel in person. I didn't have the money and I couldn't pay for the hotels. And you know, the whole thing of I need to be able to go travel, hotels, flights, then the course. And so I just set a projection. The easiest way, please, somehow I want to work with him, like anyhow. And then in like a month or two, there was an announcement that he was going to teach his first online class. And I was like completely shocked. And then I looked into my bank account and I said, I don't have any money. How am I going to do this? Oh my God. And I got so depressed for like a day or two. And I was like, oh, this is really horrible. And then I had a personal consultation with my teacher. She said, do this, 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 this. And so for a month leading up to his class, I began to take steps every day, things I never normally wanted to do because I was shy, I was awkward, it was uncomfortable, I didn't like it. I just started to do it because my goal was I wanted to go and be in his class, work with him, heal with him.
Yeah.
And I was able to do it. And then that led me to go further and further and further. And then I was able to attend all of his classes before he passed away. And the entire time, my parents were like, when we have money, we'll go to his class. And they never made it to a single class of his. It was so sad. And I recognize that we're always waiting for a better time. But what if we set a goal and then we begin to work towards it? And of course, we have fears, we have money problems, we have all these issues. But a personal consultation, it begins to help you leave that cycle of constant stress and tension and no opportunity. And it gives you, whether it's energy that you need, whether it's clarity, less fear, it gives you that ability to move towards your goals.
Yeah, and you have to set them straight. It has to be a clear goal, like Simran said, has to be achievable, and it has to take you a little bit out of your comfort zone. So if the personal consultation seems like a little bit of a stretch for you, don't wait until you get the money to book the consultation. Book the consultation, and that will take you out of the comfort zone already, because you will be showing yourself, others, universe, that you actually worth it. And this is, you want it so much that you prepared to make steps
Mm-hmm.
towards this. And that's where the movement starts, from you
Absolutely.
committing. You need to commit before the weather better, before the spring comes, before you turn up 50, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
And yeah,
definitely.
I think for me it's interesting to see what are the possibilities of what we can happen. I have a little list here that I wrote about 2 years ago about everything I achieved during personal consultation.
Hmm.
And that's something you can start to write as well. And I think it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for making anything you really want happen. And it's nothing more than that. It is a miracle what we can do, because this is something that only the masters used to be able to do and nobody else knew it. And even the last master of Kundalini Yoga did not teach it openly to people except for one student out of millions. And so we learned it against all odds, really.
Hmm.
And for me, it's just so interesting to see that it's not just focus or a desire, but it's really tuning into yourself and recognizing, I want some change. And even if you don't have a stressful situation, but to even discover, one of the things I started to do thanks to my teacher is just try different things I've never done in my life. Like I went kart racing. I absolutely hated it, but I tried it, which is something I never thought I would do. And I went paragliding off the second highest mountain in the world, something I never thought I would do. I took up knitting and now I absolutely love it. And every day I knit. I made myself hats. I made my partner a scarf. And it's not just, to get out of stressful situation, but sometimes it's also just to discover more about yourself and what life has to offer, whether you like it or not. But just to be able to be more open, have more experiences. And I never thought I would learn how to knit. I never thought I would learn to do many, many things. And now I do them every few months. I try something really out of my comfort zone to grow. I want to experience more. And I feel that, it's an opportunity and it's not something to take for granted. The personal consultations we do, they're not a small thing, and it's not just anybody can do it. No Kundalini yoga teachers know how to do it. Only Sadhana signed healers, and which are maybe, I don't know, in the world like a few thousand if we're lucky. I mean, it's such a small amount of people who know how to do this, and even lesser that actually understand how to do it and do it accurately. If anyone is interested right now in a personal consultation, we can do one for you at this moment. You can write, I'm interested, and we can show you how to work with your goals, your wishes. You can write, I'm interested, and we will share how we can do the consultation right now in this moment. You can come with any goal, any wish, and we can do it. If not, we can finish up the live stream. And if you joined in late, I really recommend you go through this entire live stream because we really covered the topic of how does yoga meditation help? Where and how big can it make you grow? For me, I really got to see that it helped me start my own business and grow it to be able to sustain myself, make my wishes come true. I saw my parents go from 20,000 euros to 300,000 euros a month and build their business. So there's many possibilities and you can start from anywhere. I started from scratch and my family started from a business they already had for many years. Ah, perfect. Please, okay, if you're interested in the consultation, please write your full name, date of birth, and the city you live in now.
I can't read any messages. I had a few, but then that's it, they stopped. So you probably got
Okay.
your side. Yeah, maybe it's the people that you know, who know you, who are your subscribers. But I can't read. I can't see anymore.
Okay. All right. For the consultation, if anyone else is interested, full name, your date of birth, the city you live in, and the topic you want to work with. Okay. For you, Tanya, let's see. Okay. For you, Tanya, you have a lot of doubt in yourself. You constantly question yourself. You feel whatever choices or whatever you're doing, maybe it's wrong. It's not good enough. Do you feel this? You can write yes or no. And you have this constant state of doubt and anxiety about yourself, your choices, and what you're doing. The best thing right now is you need to write down what you want in your relationships and from yourself. What do I want from myself? How do I want to live every day? And then once you write down what you want from yourself, from your relationships, then you say, this is the best thing. I know everything. I make the best choice. You can write it down on the bottom. And it will really help you go forward. You already have personal practices from me, but right now, if you want to work with your relationships, the most important thing is you set down your projections and then you write down everything I do, everything I say is right. Don't doubt yourself at all. This is really important. Don't doubt yourself because when you start to doubt yourself, it creates more stress, more anxiety. Okay, next consultation. Let's do you, Laura. Okay. For you, Laura, you have a lot of tension in your belly, in your nervous system, and it takes away a lot of internal energy. And right now, for prosperity, for more financial cushion to grow it as well, there are two things you can really work with, and it might be difficult, is to work with internal expansion. Because on a very subconscious level, especially in your the foundation of your psyche, you feel that it's very difficult, and it's the world and prosperity and everything you do, it always has to be really stressful and difficult. So right now, if you work with internal expansion, and the way to work with it is either by working with the throat chakra, or you can work with inner child. These are two really good topics for you. You will find yourself just being able to expand and create a lot more opportunities than you ever expected to do. And you will start to see how they will start to work out. Because your brain right now, if you expand it, you will start to see all the ideas, all the ways your creativity will unfold as well. And you will really be able to see how to make it happen. So that's my recommendation for you. I don't know if you felt it connected with you about the feeling everything is very difficult, but you can write yes or no. Prabvir, please write what problem you want to work with. And Janet, you as well. What problem you want to work with in this time.
Hey, lovely. I might have to go because I've only got like few bars on my battery left on my phone. So thank you so much, and wonderful to connect again.
Absolutely.
But
Thank you so much as well.
super, super wonderful time. And yes, I highly recommend her, Simran. I've had healing from her myself. So yes, it's amazing
Thank
experience.
you.
So
Thank you so much for joining me. If anyone's interested, even after the live stream, you can check out Amanjot's page and see what offers you have right now.
yes. Thank you. Take
Thank you
care.
so much.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye. Okay, I will finish the consultations of everyone here before we finish the live stream. Yes, Laura, you can review this on the video and write it all down after. And you can also write to me directly and I can write it out for you as well. Okay, so Pravir, you said you want to work with career-wise. Okay, I will look at you now. Please write which city you're in. This is important for me. And for Janet, please write your full name and what, yeah, okay, I see you wrote the topic here now. Okay. I'm just waiting for you, Pravir, to write down the city you live in now. Okay, perfect, thank you. Okay. For you, Pravir, with your career, you have a lot of anxiety towards it, and you have a lot of mental tension as well. And because of this, it's weakened your nervous system. So anytime you feel stressed, any kind of anxiety, it becomes really heightened really fast. Do you notice this? And so you have this state of, on a subconscious, even on a very physical level, where you're always in a state of anxiety and tension. And it's very hard to relax and to feel safe and secure in yourself and in what you want to do. Okay. This for you is the main topic to work with. You need to work with anxiety and you need to work with stabilizing your nervous system because it's very out of balance and it creates a lot of mental tension. I will recommend for you to work with classes. You can do a class or personal consultation on working with fears. This is your main topic. If you don't see it, it's sitting very deep in your subconscious and you're blocking from recognizing this. But the easiest way to find out if this is true or not, you can write down a list of, am I earning the amount that I want? Am I doing the job that I want? Am I doing everything that I want to do? Do I have everything that I want? Do I have enough money to be completely secure? And you can do a little more of a questionnaire in terms of that. Am I able to afford everything I want? Can I buy and travel and do anything that I want? Is there a budget, and what's the budget? And from there, you can start to recognize, do I have these fears or not? Because if you're not doing everything you want, if you're not earning everything that you should be or want to, it's not enough to do everything that you want, then this is your subconscious fear, and this is how it shows up. So you can make a list of, am I fulfilled? Am I doing everything that I want? Am I earning everything that I want? And if there are more, if there's even one no, then this is your fears, and it shows up like this. And this is actually not just for you, but for everyone. Our fears, our stress, they don't just show up in our face, and we don't always just recognize them right off the bat. They show up in many different ways. For example, we can't afford the things that we want to do, or there's constantly stress and tension with money. We're unable to sleep. We're unable to connect to people. We're unable to ever travel. And this is the way it shows up. This is the way our blocks manifest in our life. It's not just on an internal state. A lot of people can say, I feel really good, but they're unable to do the things that they really want. Or they say, I don't need these things. And this is the block. This is our block. But for you, I will really, really recommend Pravir to really work and write down everything, and then sign up for one of my New Year's special promotion. Right now, I have a super massive promotion on classes, on personal healing, and personal healing classes as well, on prosperity, on breaking with healing subconscious stress, and also just on a general basis to increase our energy, our health, our prosperity. I have multiple packages available right now, and they will be finished on the 10th of Jan. And they're all 80-90% off on my normal classes, and I will not be doing it again. So I will recommend to do this task as soon as you can, today, even right now, even as I'm doing more consultations, and then you can see if this is for you or not. Okay, I will do Janet now. Are you still here, Janet? Please write your full name and date of birth. If you're still here. If anyone else is interested in a personal consultation, please write it down. I'll take one or two more people, and then we can finish up. Janet, are you still here? Okay. If you're not replying, we'll finish up here. Thank you all so much for joining me in this live stream. This coming week and a half, I have a massive promotion. Here you are. Okay, but I will quickly finish up. I have a massive promotion on my past classes and then a few promotion on personal healing or personal consultation. And I've given, I think, 70–90% discount on them so that in the upcoming year, you have a full package that will help you towards your goals, towards your wishes, anything they may be. If you have any questions, any topics you're not sure, please write to me, because this is something we can easily resolve and we can communicate and see if this is something that connects with you. And it's better to do it now because there's a massive promotion. I remember last year during this time, I had a promotion on my classes, and I had someone who reached out to me and then she said, I'm not sure. And I said, that's okay. And then I had my second promotion of the year. It wasn't as big, it was much, much smaller, but it was still a promotion. And she said, I'm not sure. And then just a month ago, she came to me for 5 times the amount that she had paid, that she would have paid last year for the same thing. And of course, for me, it's the main thing is I know what I offer. I know how to work with my clients, and I know which package, which classes, exactly what will work for you with your goals. And we can work with it very, very quickly. We don't have to overcomplicate it. And the most interesting thing is that we can start right away to heal and change our life. Okay, I will do your consultation now, Janet. Okay. For you, Janet, to work with how to really know what you want, how to stop procrastinating, for you, you have a ban on creativity and exploration. This is a really deep childhood wound of a ban on self-expression. And the way to recognize how do I have a ban on self-expression is think about back to your childhood when, and this is really common, when we go to school, when we're at a point where we start to go to preschool, what starts to happen in almost every society is we start to learn we can't run, we can't dance, don't shout, don't complain, stop doing this, stop running. And so we start to have adults, whether in school or our parents, they start to say, don't express yourself, stop shouting, stop speaking, you don't know anything. And it's much more deeper than that. But this is kind of the basis of ban on self-expression. And you have this ban really deep in you. You have a really special ability where you have a lot of internal locked creativity. And on top of that, you have an ability with your creativity to be able to create opportunities, whether it's start a business, connect with people, anything. But you have this opportunity that will come naturally when you work with lifting this ban on self-expression. So I will recommend for you to find the package I have. I believe it's I Want Prosperity, or I'm Ready for Prosperity. I have this package for the New Year's. And you need to go through the workshops of throat chakra and releasing the burdens of the past, subconscious anger, and everything. All these classes as well will begin to balance your nervous system, and you will start to express yourself in many different ways. And you will find yourself and you will find your path. And this is where you will really learn to be fulfilled and feel your power. For you, this is your main topic. Do you connect with this? Do you feel there's a ban on self-expression, or you feel guilty or ashamed in wanting things? You can write yes or no. Are you still here? If anyone else is interested in a personal consultation, I'll take one more person. If you're interested, you can write what topic you want to work with, and your full name, date of birth, the city you live in, for a personal consultation. And we can do one right now. Okay. And one more thing, Janet. With the package, I'm Ready for Prosperity, I also have, for the first 5 clients this week who sign up for this package, you will also receive a personal consultation and personal healing session, which is normally separately 400 euros. So if you're interested, you can look into this package, and there are payment plans if you want one. But this package will only be available till the 10th of January. So I really recommend, for anyone who is ready to start, who wants to work on themselves, I have my best classes I have selected on massive promotion. If anyone is interested, Nicole, I'm not sure if you're interested in a personal consultation, please write down yes, and then I will wait for the full name, date of birth, and the city you're in, and the problem you want to work with. I also want to thank each one of you who's been here for this entire live stream, and everyone who'll do it through recording. I have people who will write to me who done it on recording. I'm so grateful to be able to do this. This was always, I didn't even know it at the time, but this was one of my dreams, to be able to teach, to be able to work for myself. And I do recognize it's a massive privilege. And I want to be able to share this with everyone as well, because everything that I'm giving in personal consultation, in the package that I have for the New Year's, with the classes, everything, these are also all the practices and the steps and the trainings I went and I applied to my life to make my wishes come true. From being able to get the clients that I want, to be able to earn the money that I want, to be able to move from Singapore to Spain with no help, no idea even really how to do it. These practices, they gave me the stability, the strength, the clarity, the focus to go from point A to the result that I wanted. And often I was doubting it the entire process, as I was sharing with my guest earlier. Even when I was doubting it, you will begin to change. This is the power of these consultations. They're incredibly healing, and they work on the deepest aspects of our life, our mind, our body, our subconscious, our spirit. And if you have any questions, please write to me. For me, this job and every client that I get, it's not just a personal victory, but for me, it's not just getting the client, but being able to help them achieve their goals, their wishes. And I've been very fortunate to have a teacher who has gone through the entire process, who started her own school from scratch as a single mother of 2 children. And she built her own school from 0 to 300,000 students around the world. And it's become the biggest Sun sign healer school. It's incredible. So for me, I've modeled my prosperity. Every step I've taken really has come from her. She's taught me how to work with this. Of course, if you're interested, you can also check out her page. I highly recommend it. I believe she has 1 or 2 more days also of her classes, but she teaches everything in Russian. So it's much more difficult in general. Even training with her, I learn everything in Russian, either through Google Translate, and often even breaks. But I've been really fortunate that I got to learn from her, because it is really a chance what we get to do here. We give ourselves a chance to really create something and do something for ourselves that we never thought we needed or wanted. And it can be strange, especially if you've never practiced any yoga and meditation, or you've never practiced with me. It's a very different process, but it is beginner friendly. And I do guide you every step of the way on how do we start, where to focus, and how do you get the result. That's 1. And 2, I'm happy to answer any questions. I've been practicing Kundalini Yoga for over 21 years. And I studied in the school that was founded by the master of Kundalini Yoga for over 7 years. And I've been really fortunate to be able to work with the best teachers around the world. And now I'll be offering this as well, especially in the upcoming new year, with a massive promotion on the classes, on the personal healing. And some of the packages I've gifted a personal consultation or personal healing, but only for the first 5 signups. Again, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. If anyone has any questions, please write to me. And today we'll finish up the live stream. It might be the last one of the year. I'm very excited for the upcoming New Year's. On my Telegram channel, I'm planning to post a special meditation to do for the first week of the New Year's, to just help to stabilize the psyche and create a clear projection of how we want the new year to go. So if you're interested, go join my Telegram channel. It's completely free. The link is on my bio. Thank you all. Again, have a wonderful day, wonderful evening, and even the most incredible New Year's upcoming. Thank you so much.